everyone. It is day 9 of our 250-mile through hike across the Olympic Peninsula, and right now we are in the town of Port Angeles after resupplying and taking a nice relaxing zero here yesterday. This morning we have 2 trail angels, Mel and Steve, who are coming to our motel to pick us up and take us all the way back up to Hurricane Ridge behind us, which is the visitor center for the national park. That's where we hitched off trail a couple days ago, and that's where we're going to be rejoining up with the Pacific Northwest Trail this morning. During our zero in Port Angeles, my mom's best friend from high school back in the 80s reached out to me because she had moved to Port Angeles and she wanted to trail angel for us while we were here. So we met up with her, Mel, and her husband, Steve, and they took us to some of their favorite spots near Port Angeles, like Crescent Lake and Salt Creek Bay, and took us to their beautiful home underneath the mountains with an amazing garden and cooked a wonderful dinner. And it was great to be back with some trail angels in the trail community. This section 3 of our through hike across the Olympic Peninsula, takes us back up to Hurricane Ridge where we got off trail at the end of section 2. This section is about 50 miles. We're going to drop down to the Elwha River and then follow the river up to the Sol Duc and Seven Lakes Basin area, crossing the famous High Divide. And at that point, we'll be ending section 3 before we drop down into the Bogachiel rainforest. All right, y'all, we are back at the Hurricane Ridge Visitor Center in Olympic National Park, and we're ready to continue our through hike. We're on top of Hurricane Hill, which has a fantastic 360-degree panorama view of the park. So this is all Olympic National Park in front of us. There's Mount Olympus, all covered in glaciers. And here's the Straits of Juan de Fuca, with the marine layer over it, and on the other side of the strait is Canada. You can see all the snowy mountains from the North Cascades. There's Mount Baker, and down below us is the town of Port Angeles, where we just resupplied. So this is the Elwha River coming down, and we're about to drop into it. And then we're gonna part from it and head up Boulder Creek, all the way up and over Appleton Pass right there over the next day or two. All right, we finally made it down to the Elwha River Valley. Now we have quite a bit of a road walk on this old closed road. So when they took the dam out on the Elwha River that we're about to pass over, it just washed out this whole area. So at least there's no car traffic here. This is the Elwha River coming down through Glines Canyon. This huge slot river canyon down here. Tonight for dinner, I have Annie's white cheddar mac and cheese with some smoked salmon to add to it, some flax meal, some powder cheese to make it extra cheesy, and then of course, secret aardvark hot sauce. So tonight we pushed some big miles out of town. It's like 17 miles to Boulder Creek Campground so that we can use the Boulder Creek hot springs tonight and tomorrow morning.
It smells like sulfur. Oh, look at that.
Oh, beautiful.
Morning. So today we get to sleep in a little because there's a quota area up ahead, which means we have a whole 5 miles to do today. So we're gonna take the morning to relax and go to the hot springs for a while. Ooh.
Unfortunately, we couldn't stay at the hot springs all day, so we're now on our way up to Appleton Pass. All right, we're on top of Appleton Pass at 5,000 feet. And this is where we've come from. And we don't really have any views on the other side of the crest. It's pretty much a wall of trees at this point. But tonight we're camping right up here by this tiny lake on Appleton Pass because on the other side of this pass is a special quota area. It's about 18 miles long as we drop down into the Solduck and Seven Lakes Basin and then back up to the High Divide. So we're gonna camp here on the boundary tonight, and then tomorrow morning we're gonna wake up early and we're gonna drop down into the Solduck. Good morning, it is day 11 of our thru hike, and today the PNT drops down from Appleton Pass, where we're camped, into the Solduck and Seven Lakes Basin. But last night while we were eating dinner, we were taking a look at the maps and we found a really cool high route alternate that we think that we can manage this morning. So this alternate isn't an actual trail. It's off-trail, high route traverse. It's gonna be wayfinding. So this morning should be pretty awesome. It'll be a great chance to get off trail and do some backcountry route finding. So basically what we'll do is we're gonna skirt the high rim of the bowl that forms the Solduck and Seven Lakes Basin. So it's gonna be a lot of route finding. It's gonna be a lot of ridge walking, but it'll reconnect with the P&T once the P&T climbs out of the Seven Lakes Basin right at the beginning of the High Divide. This is our first good look at the backside of Appleton Pass. So down here is the headwaters for the Solduck River, and below it is the Seven Lakes Basin. This traverse brought us on top of Spread Eagle Pass. And here's where we've come from. That's Appleton Pass where we camped last night. And this is where we're going now.
Traversing the high route was adventure. It was freedom. Freedom from trails and maps telling you where to go. Freedom to chart your own route. Freedom to choose your own level of risk. And freedom to accept the consequences that come with that. It's funny, when you're in the mountains long enough, you end up gaining an intuition for the landscape. Where the trail should go if it were to exist. Where to expect water based on the changing trees and plants around you. Where to expect the largest snowfield to reside later in the season. Where to traverse and place your footing on a steep talus field. In the end, getting off trail is almost as an important experience as getting on trail in the first place.
All right, we found our way back up to a ridgetop, and we are standing directly over the Seven Lakes Basin. And out in the distance, we are having our first views of the Pacific Ocean. Whew, all right. 5 hours later, and we finished our traverse of the high route, and we have met back up with the Pacific Northwest Trail. How was your traverse of the high route?
Challenging.
For all the adventure of route finding, it sure is nice to find yourself back on groomed trail.
I will never route find again.
The High Divide is an infamous ridge walk that drops steeply down on both sides. To the south, it drops down to form the Hoh River. To the north, it drops down to form the Solduck River. And at the end of the High Divide is Bogachiel Peak, which forms the headwaters for the Bogachiel River. The clouds are slowly raising to reveal the glaciers of Mount Olympus. Well, last night we must have camped right below the freezing line because the lakes up here are frozen over. There's Mount Olympus coming straight out of the Pacific Ocean. All right, we are on top of Bogachiel Peak, which is the last high point on our through hike of the Olympic Peninsula. So from here on out, we are heading down and out to the Pacific Ocean.
We have come so far today.
There's the Hoh River down below.
Coming down off the Bogachiel Peak on the High Divide, the landscape quickly began to change as we left behind glaciers and snowfields and alpine lakes in the high Olympics, and we entered a more rolling terrain, thick with trees, teeming with life, as we began to spill down towards the Bogachiel rainforest and out towards the Pacific Ocean.
We accidentally crossed by our last water source and we're worried we weren't going to find any for another 10.5 miles, but came across this lovely stagnant pond with a bunch of tiny little salamanders in it. All right, y'all, we are camped on the westernmost point of the ridge that forms the Bogachiel River Valley. So we are leaving behind all the high mountains of the Olympics, and tomorrow morning we're gonna drop down this ridge into the Bogachiel River as we enter the true rainforest of the Olympic Peninsula. So tonight we're leaving behind section 3 of our through hike of the Olympic Peninsula, and tomorrow morning we're gonna pick up with section 4, the rainforest.